So today we will go ahead with the next very important iteration statement, that is nothing but your for loops. So for loops was very much available in all your previous programming languages as well, like your C and C++. And this for loop, whatever you can see right now, it is very similar to your previous loops. Okay. So the general syntax for the for loop goes something like this: for followed by the initialization, condition, and iteration. Okay. So the initialization part is nothing but here your loop is executed, that is here you will initialize an variable. Okay. Next is the condition part. So the condition part is evaluated. Usually it will be in the form of the boolean, whether true or false. Okay. So once this condition part is evaluated, so next comes finally is your iteration. So this iteration is important if I want to run a loop multiple times. Okay. So whenever your for loop is evaluated, whenever this syntax is evaluated, the first thing which will be evaluated is initialization. Remember this thing. Next thing is it will be checking the condition, that is whether the condition is true or false. So therefore it will be in the form of the boolean. And third finally will be the iteration, that is it goes on making the various runs depending on this variable, that is whether it has to be incremented or whether it has to be decremented. That is decided by this third variable. Okay. So this is just a small demonstration of the for loop, you can see here. So if you see, the name of the class is for tick, then followed by that we have invoked the main function. So this is the main function invocation. This is the same line which is available in all our previous programs. Next we have defined an integer. So this int n is nothing but it is called as loop controlled variable. So using this n you will be controlling the loop. So here for example, if you observe, first thing n is equal to 10, this is nothing but your initialization. So this n is equal to 10, this is nothing but your initialization. Next n greater than 0, this is nothing but the condition. Finally the third one, that is n minus minus, which is a decrement statement, is an iteration. So this is how your syntax maps. Okay. So if you try to, so that means how the execution happens. First you can see, first this initialization happens. Next step is nothing but it will check the condition whether n is greater than 0. If n is greater than 0, it will enter the loop, and finally it will check its iteration, that is it will decrement n. Like say for example, here initial value of n is what now? It is n is equal to, initial value of n is equal to 10. Next what would happen after this execution, after this step execution, this n value will be, the new value of n will be equal to 9, that is it will be decremented. Okay. So we'll see the same thing in your VS Code. We'll try to see the same thing in your VS Code. Yeah. So the name of the program is for tick. So here is your for tick. Yeah. So I'll run the program. Okay. So you can see here friends that the first value it will be printing is 10. Why? Because the initial value is 10. Next it will check whether n is greater than 0, and then it will come inside and it is decremented, and the next value it will be printing is 9. Okay. And this goes on until where now? This goes on until n becomes 0. So finally once it reaches, n reaches 0, it will check the condition, is 0 greater than 0? No, it will fail. So therefore you can see here that the 0 has not been printed. Okay. So this is the execution of a small program which will demonstrate you the for loop. Next very important thing is we can make various changes in your for loop. We can make it more efficient by making small changes. So usually whatever the variables that control the for loop will be available only inside the for loop, and later what we do is we those are not so much useful. Okay. So therefore we can declare these loop control variables inside the for loop itself, that is we can declare them here only. Like if you can observe here, we have declared int n is equal to 10. So that means this n is equal to 10 has been declared inside the for loop only. Okay. So if you observe this program for comparison, here it has been declared outside the for loop. So when you declare it outside the for loop, it will be available throughout, but when you declare it inside the for loop, something like this, then it will be available only within this program. That is the difference what we can observe. Okay, so when the for loop ceases to execute, when it completes its execution, then the scope of this variable will also cease, that is, it will be getting over. Okay, so in order to demonstrate this, there is a small program written for prime numbers. So there is a small program written for prime numbers. So if you can observe here, first we'll mention the class as usual. You know it, class is a keyword. Then we'll put a name, that is name of the class. Then we'll go ahead and we will invoke our main function. Okay, after invoking the main function, please observe here, friends, what we have done. We have defined a variable called as int of num, that is, we have defined a variable. Next, very important thing here is we have put a boolean value. We have defined a boolean value. See here, friends, the first value we have defined is it's an integer, so that's why it is int. The next value we are defining here is it is a boolean. It is a boolean. So we are defining a boolean value. Its name is prime. Its name is prime, and the initial value we have given it is true. We have mentioned it as that its value should be true. Okay. So after that we have defined one more variable, that is the value of the variable. You can say the num has been defined already here. Num has been already defined here. Here we are giving a value to num, which is nothing but 14. Okay, so after giving the value for num, we'll come inside here. So this is what has been demonstrated here, friends. The same thing, that is, we are defining the value of integer n is equal to 10 inside the for loop. So same thing we have done here. We have defined the value of the variable I inside the for loop itself. That's why we have written here int I is equal to 2. So this both statements are same. Okay. Next, it will come here. It will check for the condition. The condition is what now? If I is less than or equal to num divided by I. So this is the condition. Next, the iteration control statement is your I plus plus, that is an incrementation statement. So when I is equal to 2, it will come inside this loop. It will come inside this loop, and it will do num of mod I. What is mod I? Mod I is nothing but this percentage sign is nothing but it is the modulus operator, which gives us a remainder. This we have already seen in your first module. So when I want a remainder, I will be using your modulus sign, and when I want the quotient, I will be using this division sign. So here we want a remainder because we want to check whether it's a prime number or no. Like say for example, if I have a 4, and if 4 divided by 2, that is, instead of divide I use a mod here, that is percentage sign, then the answer I will be getting is 0. So this tells us that it is not a prime. It is not prime. Okay. Similarly, if I say for example I have 7, so 7 mod of 2, the answer I will be getting is 1. So therefore we say that it is prime. So in order to demonstrate that, we will be using this mod sign. Okay, so we will see its output. So moving ahead, I will just complete the loop. So if it is equal to 0 0, it will say is prime is false, that is, it's not a prime number, and break the loop. So once you break it, it will come outside, and it will again go for the next iteration. Okay, so and if it is true, it will come ahead and it will print that it is a prime number. If it is true, it will print it's a prime number. You can see here. Else what it will print? It will print it is not a prime number. Very simple. Okay, so only logic in this program is, friends, that num of mod I must be equal to 0. Okay, so we will see it. Let's find prime. I'll clear the editor window. Let us execute. So see here. So num 14, we have taken num is equal to 14. So therefore it is telling that it is not a prime number. Now let us try changing this value. Say I'll put 7 and I will execute again. Now you can see it is printing prime. Okay, so that means it is basically depending on this num of mod I equal to 0. So if it is equal to 0, it will say that it is a prime number. Okay. So this is how you control your iteration variables within the for loop. That is what was introduced here. Within the for loop, you can control it. You can define it within the for loop. Next variation is, now what actually happens is, please observe this program first, that is the left hand side program. So what happens usually is, we will be defining multiple variables. We will be defining multiple variables, and for has given us a provision wherein we can define these multiple variables within the loop itself, and using your comma operator. That is, using the comma, we can define the various variables within the loop. Okay. So which variables can be defined is the next question. So we can define our initialization variables as well as iteration variables. Both can be defined. If we can, so initialization variable is nothing but this variable, the first variable, and the iteration variable is nothing but the last variable. So these both can be defined. Multiple values can be defined using a comma. Using your comma, these both values can be defined multiple times. Okay. So let us see the first program now. This program. So here, if you can observe, first thing is the name of the class and the invocation of the main. These two is very clear. Next, you define two variables, a and b. After that, you give an value for b, which is 4. So this is your for loop. Okay. So this is your for loop. So a is equal to 1 and a less than b and a plus plus. So it will check whether a is less than b. So what is the new value of a here? 1. So is 1 less than 4. So this is the condition which it will be checking. So if it is satisfied, it will print the value of a and b, and it will decrement the value of b, which is b was 4, now it will become 3, and it will come to this step, and a was 1, it will become 2. So see here friends, we have two iteration variables. One is a plus plus, and another one is here, which is b minus minus. So we have two iteration variables. Okay. So this printing goes on. Now what happens here on the RHS? Please observe this program now. Please observe this program. What changes we have done? First change is, here we have defined, if you can observe, one second, I'll just erase this. So if you can observe, here we have defined two variables, that is initializations. Two variables initialization has been done. One is b is equal to 4, the other one is a is equal to 1. Okay. Now in this side, that is RHS side, you can observe both the initializations have been done inside the for loop itself. So you can observe both these initializations have been done inside the for loop. Okay. How they are done? Using the comma. You can observe here in between there is a comma. This is the first change. The next change is, you can observe here, as we discussed just now, that there are two iteration variables. One is a plus plus and another one is b minus minus. Now again, both these variables have been defined inside the for loop. How they are defined? Again, using the comma operator. So this is the use of your comma operator. Using comma operator, you can define your multiple variables inside the for loop. Okay. So apart from this, there are other variations as well. Like say for example, the next variation we will be looking is, if you can observe here. So what we have done here is, friends, we have defined a Boolean value. And the name of that value is done, and the initialization of that value is false. So the type is Boolean, the name is done, and the initialization we have done is false. Okay. So what happens here is, this variation usually involves the conditional expression, and this expression does not need to test the loop control against some target value. Okay. Like say for example here, what we have done, initialize inside the for loop, we have initialized I is equal to 1. Now if you observe here, we have just written not of done. So what is the meaning of not of done? Is nothing but, that is, it will check this condition. This is the condition statement. Okay. So what will happen now? If interrupted, done is equal to true. That is, if there is an interruption, and what will happen, what the value of done will be, it will become true. Okay, so here what we are checking, friends, we are checking not of done. So what is done? Done is false. Done is false. If it is true, not of done means what? Inverse of done. So if done becomes true, then it will go ahead with the execution. That is what it means. I hope you are getting it. There is a small change here. They are not defined any less than, greater than or equal to statement. They are just told not of done. Okay, if not of done is equal to true, then it will go ahead with the execution, and if it is false, it will stop it. Okay, so this is small change. Next very important thing is our for loops can be empty. Our for loops can be empty. We can leave the for loops empty without any variables. And so what would happen here now? So here if you can observe here, the first value is empty, the second value is also empty. We have left them empty. So this is usually used whenever we want like say for example, there is some variable inside the for loop. There is some variable inside this for loop using which we want to control the execution of this for loop. Okay, in that case we will be using such statements wherein you will be leaving it empty, and based on the expressions, the complex expressions which are there inside the for loop, based on that we will be deciding whether to execute this for loop or not to execute this for loop. Okay, so this comes in handy whenever there are complex variables inside this for loop. Okay, so these are some of the variations of your for loops.